Good evening and welcome back to the Ask Dr. Renee show here at blackdoctor.org. Thank you so much for joining me. Hope everyone is enjoying this holiday season. Please, please, please share the broadcast. Share it on whatever platform you're watching on. You know, we're on a bunch of platforms, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and I think we're going to start to be on Twitter. So please make sure that you share the broadcast because inevitably somebody needs to know what to do with their money because that's what we're talking about tonight. So I think that you should really tune in. So I'm going to introduce my guest and we will get started. And good evening, Dr. Say it for me one more time.
Dr. Latifat.
Latifat. Now I
Yeah,
got it. Now I got it.
now
So
we
good
got it.
evening and thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to hang out with you. It's morning my time, but good something. It is.
So she is tuning in. She's coming to us from overseas, you guys. So we need to say thank you, thank you, thank you 10 times. And she is in Thailand, so it's a whole 12-hour difference. So this is awesome. Thank you so much. But so first of all, I mean, because you are Dr. Latifat, what kind of doctor are you? And then we'll get into the money.
Absolutely. So I'm a physician. I'm a gastroenterologist. I would say practicing, but like I mentioned earlier, we're currently on a travel sabbatical with my family, so I'm not practicing at the moment. But I'm a practicing gastroenterologist based in California, and I have the pleasure of being the mama of three little ladies that's been flying around with me.
So how old are your little ladies?
So my little ladies are 6, 9, and 10. They just turned 6 and 9 a few days ago, so I have to do the math and remember when I birthed them. So yes.
Oh, that is lovely. Lovely. And are you married?
Yes, I am married.
So
Been
your
married
husband,
for almost 12 years. Yes, I'm married
your
to my
husband came
husband.
along too?
Yes, it's been along with me. Well, you know what? When you're traveling with three kids, it's so much easier when you have a plus one. And if you're not married, feel free to go hire a plus one. But yes, I'm doing this with my husband, and it's been honestly been the trip of a lifetime for us. And I cannot recommend taking a break, taking a pause, and just connecting as a family, connecting with your purpose, connecting with what you want to do in this next season of your life, whatever that is, and do more listening and introspection than like just quiet all the loud noise. It's been life changing, to be honest, for us.
And I know we're talking about money, but I think money does take a part in this because obviously it takes money to be able to just pick up and leave your job for almost a year.
Absolutely. It takes money to leave your job. It takes money to run the expenses that come from traveling. Even if you're not traveling, if you're doing like a staycation, it takes money to do that as well. But honestly, I will say that you probably, most people don't even get to the part of figuring out the strategies about the money. People just think it's going to take money and stop there as if we're not problem solvers, right? Because, when I think about myself, when I think about my money, I knew zero about money 7 years ago. So to be able to go from that to being able to like take 10 months of traveling, we've been to, I think this is country number 18 that we've been to in that time span. Like it tells you that things can change and that maybe we have more capacity than we give ourselves credit for.
So, how did you learn 7 years ago? How did you make the shift?
Well, you know what? When you're broke,
Please say that louder because because you have that DR in front of your name, many of our watchers are probably like tuned out because they're like, oh my God, she's a doctor. No, but it costs a lot of money to get these letters. And honestly, I'll be put it out there. It costs a lot of money and a lot of money that we don't have. So it's a lot of borrowing of a lot of money that we don't have. So yes, we get our letters, but then we still owe six-figure debt. So please.
yep, when you're broke, you're earning good income, but you're still broke. And the math just looks like it ain't mathing, right? When you feel that way, but then you now have kids that are looking at you, and you know that part of your job is to help them have better possibilities than you did, so they don't have to eat 25 cents popcorn, entire day in college because that's all they could afford, and like free water. That changes what you think you can do or cannot do. And the other reason as well is, yes, I have a doctor in front of my name. And what most people don't know about medicine is that there's a lot of burnout in medicine, meaning that physicians, there's so much external pressure, not just from what we want to do, but like what the government and society at large, but even what our patients and our community wants us to do. And when the way that healthcare is structured these days, there is so little time that's set apart for us to actually sit down and face you, when there is expectation that I'm going to spend 4 times as much time when I'm not facing you to take care of your care, but that is not accounted for in my time. It is literally like trying to force like a gallon of water into like a tiny container. Like it will burst. So for me, it was not just the brokenness, it was the fact that I had kids that I wanted to have better opportunities in life. But it was also because I looked at my future and I'm like, if I don't give myself the choice of practicing medicine or not, I know that I'm going to be tired and exhausted and burnt out. And there's something about having the power of choice that I believe is central to us existing as humans and literally our souls being alive. Like when you know that you have a choice, you are alive. When you don't think you have a choice, you're more likely to die inside even before you die physically. And so I did not want to die inside, even when I was alive physically. And so those were literally the reasons why I'm like, okay, Latifat, you can't keep saying no one has taught you. You can't keep saying you have debt. And that's the reason, like, how can you go from where you are to just giving yourself choices, to not having to look at your kids and say, I'm sorry, I can't spend time with you because I don't have a choice. Don't get me wrong. There were times when I didn't spend time with them, like when I was on call. I would be on call for like a whole weekend. And I'm like, kids, I'm on call. I got to go take care of patients. But it was different because I had a choice. I was doing it because it's what I was called to do. Well, I'm like, I'm tired, but you know what? I signed up for this. I'm here because I want to. And there's something about that that literally gives you life. So I wanted to have a life in that sense of the word. And that's why I literally had to get my crap together, figure out my money. And now the rest, like they say, is history. And I'm continuing to create even things in future. So it's not completely history yet, but part of the brokenness is history.
Right. So, and really, it's cliche, but it's the truth. You want to live while you're living, because there's so
100%.
many people that are like, well, I'll take that trip when, I'll buy that house when, I'll buy that car then, I will, I'll invest when, but when may never come.
When may never come. And I think people also assume that I want to take that trip is not cannot be in congruence with I want to also have money. Like you
Right.
can have your cake and eat it, right? So the fact that you want to take a trip doesn't mean that you cannot invest your money. It doesn't mean you cannot grow your money. In fact, if you do those things, if you buy what we call assets, right?
Yes.
Things that increase over time first, what it means is you get to enjoy. I mean, listen, y'all, if I'm traveling to 18 countries, we're going to do 20 countries before we come back to the US. That stuff ain't free money. It costs me money. But to be able to do that and enjoy it and live it up, it's because I know that I'm not sacrificing my future financially. I'm not like borrowing money in order to be able to do this. So you get to enjoy those experiences you want, even so much better when you do it the right way, quote unquote, for you. And that means by making sure you take care of what you need to take care of first, but even concurrently at the same time, now you get to enjoy the fruit of your labor in that regard.
Yes. It's awful to take a trip and then be so broke that you are like penny pinching on the trip. That is just the worst. The
Yep.
worst. And honestly, there was a meme that said something about don't travel with broke people or something. And I totally agree, because I just don't, there's just a certain level of things that I like to do and the way I like to do things. And I will tell everyone I am the cheapest person on the planet. But I am cheap in ways that allow me to be able to do what I want to do and go
Yep.
where I want to go.
Yep.
We went to Antigua in October, and we stayed at the fabulous Royalton Antigua, and the Antigua Tourism Board took such good care of us. It was amazing. But we were part of the Diamond Club, and it was funny because one of the ladies that was going with us, it was my first retreat that I hosted, and she said she had saw the Instagrams of the Royalton, and she said, "Are you a member of the Diamond Club?" And I told her, I go, "We all are." She said, "Oh." And so we got there and we saw what the Diamond Club offered versus what the non-Diamond Club people had. We were like, there's no way.
Like,
We were
sorry,
like,
we're doing
this
this.
is the only way to show up here. The registration desk was not a desk. We were sitting in a lounge eating and drinking. And the registration desk, the regular one, girl, them lines was long. We were like,
Yeah,
so and that's the beauty of not traveling and being broke. You can't, counting pennies, and we all had butlers. We at the end of the trip, we wanted to tip the butler. You can't, like you gotta have some money. So what did you read something like what was the switch that switched and got you on this path so that you could do this?
So the first thing that I knew that, and okay, I'm gonna let your audience know how I was. The reason why I want them to know how they are is that someone is listening to this right now thinking she was not as bad as I was, right? The only thing that went on for me was that I had chosen to not destroy my credit score. However, I had used my credits to stand in line for someone that didn't do what they were supposed to do. So my credit score did get a hit. Don't do that. You can trust people with everything. Don't co-sign anything for anybody. And I say that as someone that co-signed for family that I absolutely, absolutely, absolutely love. And I had to work on fixing even my credit. But I knew money enough to know that my credit score was important. Not the only important thing, but it was important. But aside from that, I did not even know who I owed. I had student debt. I knew there was an Auntie Sally that would send me letters, and I just would sign, forbear, defer, whatever I needed to get it out of my face because I didn't have the time, I didn't have the resources, I didn't have the capacity. And at that point, to be honest, I was like, how am I supposed to afford to pay this? Right? So I pretty much got the debt out of my face, but I didn't have a plan for it. I did not know what a 401k was, which is, if you don't know what a 401k was, neither did I. Yet I'm here 7 years later. So you can do this, right? So I knew zero. I knew nothing. The only thing I now had was a real why. I had something that inspired me, that made me not able to look away because I already looked in the future. And I'm like, if I don't change anything, my future is inevitably going to be burnout. And also the thing is, I did not want to regret being a doctor. Mm-hmm. I did not want to regret being a doctor because there are many people that sacrificed for me to get to where I am today. I went years without seeing my mom because she was in a different country and I was here. I didn't see my mom for 5 years. That was a heck of a sacrifice, even for her. And to do all that and now regret, no, thank you. And so that was the main thing. My fear of regret became a foil, and it still is a foil that I use to live my life to this day. I'm on a sabbatical and I had to disappoint my patients because I'm like, I don't want to live a life of regret. So not living a life of regret has been one of the biggest foils in my life. So when I had a good enough, a strong enough, a compelling enough why, it was not like, so now what the hell do we do? So I went online and literally started Googling everything. What is a 401k? And what I decided was I wasn't going to judge myself, that I was going to learn it as many times as I needed to know it. But also I was willing to not have it memorized, and I was willing to consult with literally look at the dictionary as many times as I needed to, just to take action. Because at the end of the day, knowledge only isn't what's going to create a result. It's going to be more of the action. Mm-hmm. You can learn as much as you want to learn. You can say, I still haven't learned enough, but what you're doing with what you know, right? You know that you want to pay off your debt. You know that you want to pay off high interest debt. You're like, well, I still need to learn. What are you doing with the little information of I got debt? Like, that's knowledge enough. And now the question is, how do I pay it off? So Googling things like, how do I pay off debt? Watching videos. I literally just had to decide that my quote unquote, my television was going to be different. My television was going to be knowledge. The time that I would spend on TV, I want to spend that actually acquiring information and taking action that's actually going to impact my future in the long term. So it was as basic as that. I will be honest with you, because what ended up happening was, as I was learning all this information, most of them just didn't fit my life. Most of them didn't fit my life, didn't sound like they were talking to people like me. That was 7 years ago. Thankfully, now there are people that are obviously like me that are talking more about money. So hallelujah for that, right? But it didn't sound like it was talking to me. It wasn't talking to people that had kids, wasn't talking to people that had high debt like I did as a physician. And even the ones that were talking to people that had high debt, we're not talking to people that had family responsibilities like me. So I had to learn to take the knowledge and information and customize it to myself, right? And this was all about like the doing. So now I have a debt payment plan. Like, how do I want to pay off this debt? By 2024, the debt's going to be paid up. So how do I make sure that that is not affected by how I feel or my busy life. So how am I going to automate it so that it's taken care of? So if I don't move a finger, it's as good as done, right? So those were the little things that I had to do. So what do I even have as a 401k? Like, and what I find is that as we get more familiar, just so it's like perfume, as you surround yourself with the knowledge, your nervous system starts to calm down,
Mm-hmm.
and you start to believe that maybe it's possible that you can also do money. And then I will tell you the next thing that happened at that point, because I think this is something that is very, very common. Now I had a debt payment plan. Now I had a 401k, but I still didn't feel free. I still didn't feel free. I still didn't feel like I thought it was going to feel. I mean, now I'm like, okay, we got a plan. And I will be honest with you, what happened was at this point now, we paid off our debt. And no, you don't need to pay off your debt to invest. I was investing my 401k as I was paying off debt. So because investing grows while you sleep, it compounds, right? And so that's something that I want people to take advantage of. So don't think you have to pay off all your debt before you start investing. You can start investing right now. The earlier you invest, the better. Nothing is too small, nothing is too big. You're not trying to find the best catch, you're just trying to find the sensible catch. And if you want to know where to go for a sensible catch, Google Boglehead, Bogle head. Follow what they say, automate it. It's boring, it's great, it's amazing. So do that. So I did all
Wait,
that.
we're going to have to do that one again because I have to type it out. 1 second.
All right.
Say it again.
B as in boy,
Mm-hmm.
O, G
Mm-hmm.
as in good,
Mm-hmm.
L, E, and head. Boglehead.
Got it. .com?
Yeah. You can just, if you Google
Just Google it.
Boglehead,
Okay.
yeah, it will take you to like their Wikipedia type page where they have like break down the basics, like the 101 of investing, but also they have a book that you can check. They have they have a whole chart, like chat discussion message board. You don't have to go down all that. I did not go all that. Some people there are crazy, but take what you need to take and then hopping along. You're here for the good stuff, you're here for the drama.
Right.
You know, if you want to nerd out, go ahead. I did not want to nerd out. I have a life that I love. I'm busy. I wanted to take what I needed and then be able to move on. So do that with yourself. But Boglehead is a great way to start. And if all you do is that, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, you will have money.
Right.
However, I wanted something sooner. I wanted to have that freedom sooner. I wanted to have that diversity sooner. And so that's when I started looking into things like real estate investment. And I will be honest with you, like the people that I learned real estate from, they've now become my really good friends. We've served each other and loved each other for many years now. But I remember the first time I heard about mindset, and I cried. And the reason why I cried was because, I went in here and they started talking about the power of your thoughts. They started talking about the power of your belief. And I had a moment where I'm like, you mean it's not just about working harder? You mean it's not just about trying harder? That it's about trying differently? It's about working on my mindset and seeing things differently? And no one is teaching us this? And I literally, you know how you find out something and you feel like you've been cheated all along?
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I just started crying because I'm like, people are telling people that look like me, they just got to work harder. They just got to pull their straps a little bit harder.
Yep.
When you're not telling us or teaching us the good stuff, like if you taught us this and we heard it and we integrated it, then those actions that we've been taking becomes more like taking a fast car somewhere versus like taking a bicycle or walking from California to New York, which is what you're doing when all you're doing is relying on hard work and not the power of the knowledge and the power of the mindset that already exists in this world. But maybe people that look like you or maybe grew up the way that you grew up just did not have access to. And so I was like this, like crying because I just felt like so much cheating.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I didn't have MoneyFitMD. I didn't have any plans of MoneyFitMD. But then now that I started learning the power of the mindset and that, you know what, not everything that I think is actually true. And it could be a thought that I'm not good with money. It could be a thought that that I'm bad with money. And it may not actually be true. I could actually change that thought. And if I change that thought, it may not be the truth that people like me should not be at that table. If I maybe pretended to be a different color for like 1 hour, I could walk with, a different step by step to that conversation And maybe I would assume that you're not paying me fairly, and I would negotiate with you a little bit differently. And all this came together. And when you see some things, you cannot unsee it. And so when I started integrating the mindset stuff, the psychology behind stuff, the learning that, okay, now what is an asset? What is a liability? What is compounding interest? You mean I can just ask? The more I ask, the more I may receive? I did not know that. I thought I just had to like earn it, like work harder and harder to get it. Maybe I could just ask you, right? And when I started imputing all this, even the knowledge that I'd now acquired for years became more efficient, worked better, worked
Right.
differently,
Smarter,
and
not harder.
smarter, not harder. So that's what led me to MoneyFitMD, because when you see those stuff, you cannot unsee it. And now I teach women, physicians, and humans how to do the stuff so that we can have money and have freedom.
So this is December, and so I know a lot of things have changed, and I'm sure you do too, as far as how much you can put here and put there and stuff. So can you run over some of that stuff, and hopefully the people watching have already invested their money, but if they haven't, then they'll know that this is something they should ask and talk about and go look into.
Absolutely, absolutely. So for one, if you're listening to this and you either have a job or you have a business, you're working for yourself, one of the things you want to do is take advantage of the retirement accounts and contributions that are available for you. If you're working for someone, there's a good chance they may actually match what you put in. So the way that I think about it, if you're not taking advantage of the match that is available for you, it's literally like someone saying, I'm going to pay you 120K, and you're like, never mind, just keep 10K for yourself. Like, we will not do that. So if you're not accepting the match, you
Right.
literally are leaving money that you've worked for on the table. So that's definitely number one, is try and maximize, if possible, your, whether it's 401k, whether it's 403b. And part of the benefits of that is a lot of times when it's March and April, everybody and their mama freaks out about taxes. Taxes is not something you freak about in March and April. Taxes is what you think about the year before. And so if you have something that retirement wise you can invest pre-tax, what it does is it decreases the amount of money that you pay taxes on in March or April. So part of this is you paying your future self, meaning that if you're investing the money, you're going to grow. And when you're retired, you'll be able to have access to the money, but also you're helping yourself a little bit during tax season. So that's one thing that you can still do that now. I will be honest with you guys. I told y'all that I quit my job earlier this year because I'm like, I wanted to travel with my family. So my retirement account is done through that. It's not, I'm not contributing to that anymore. We invest in real estate, like I mentioned. However, when I'm looking at my taxes for next year, I'm like, I want to optimize even more. So with my business with MoneyFitMD, I am investing in my own retirement account through that. And I mean, right now it's December 26th, where you guys are. It means that you have like 5 days to do some of your retirement accounts, depending on which one you choose. So you got time. Like literally, if you take an hour over the next, you and I are going to do that. Like I'm doing that for myself. You can do that for yourself as well. So let's maximize that. And if you cannot maximize, at least do what you can. So that's
So what is
definitely.
that? Can you tell us the numbers? Do you know the numbers?
Absolutely. So the numbers changes every year. This
Yes.
year, the 401k is 22,500, but you don't even need to have that memorized. Like literally, there are times when I'm like, my brain is in other places and I don't even remember. Just go Google. Like, guys, there are things that we can easily, like, I want our brains to be used for like important stuff. Stop
Yes.
judging yourself if you don't remember any of the stuff. Just go, like, what is the limit again for 2024? What's the limit again for 2023? Guys, let's do ease. Like, let's choose what we
And
want to work.
honestly, a lot of the accounts, when you go in, it'll tell you. It'll say this is the limit. It'll tell you that the
Exactly.
maximum amount is blah blah blah. And I'm one of
Exactly.
those people. I'll be doing something at the end of this year myself.
Yeah, let's do
Um,
it.
and if you know, it's SEP, self-employed. What does the P stand for?
SEP IRA, SEP
IRA.
IRA, or
Yeah,
you can do a solo
yeah.
401k.
Or solo and
There's
4K. So they're
mhm.
about the same thing. And that's what people who are self-employed. That's what you do. But it's amazing to me how many people do not use Google. It cracks me up because people laugh because I'll say just Google it, and they're like, they think that I'm like blowing them off, and it's not that I'm blowing you off. It's that I don't want to have to charge you for me to do it. So therefore, I'm telling you, this is the easiest way to get the information. I mean, easy as can be.
It's so easy. It's ridiculous. Like even I don't think ChatGPT is like up to date yet with, I'm not sure if it has the most accurate information about what the maximum is, but
Right.
guys, we can Google. If you can watch on Facebook or Instagram, we can Google. But let's stop judging ourselves based on what we can remember or not, and understand that sometimes you memorize, but other times you just slowly integrate and incorporate. But what matters most is that you're taking the action, right? No one is gonna, like, your knowledge isn't gonna fund your retirement. Your knowledge isn't gonna fund your, you do need the knowledge, don't get me wrong, but I think sometimes we're so obsessed with having everything here that
Right.
we're exhausted at the end of the day and we have no fuel to take action. But 100%, you want to, especially this time of the year, you want to take advantage of that. Number two thing is, to be honest with you, I think it's always a great time to like cut out things that's not serving you in your life. And sometimes that's like relationships. Sometimes that is subscriptions,
I was gonna
right?
say cable or
Whatever it is,
whatever it is.
cable. Like, we haven't had cable in years. Nobody should be. I mean, if you're in 2023, I don't know that many people should be using cable. Like, there are other options that cost way less,
Yeah, I
right?
got rid of it back in 2016.
2016. Do you have any regrets?
No, ain't missed a show. And when I say missed a show, I watch all the same things. And actually, and then some, because the system I have has way more than my
Right?
cable did. Yeah.
Just do it differently. We're willing to ask ourselves, do I need this? And what I tell people is, number one is, do I want this? Do I need this? Do I know it's costing me this? Because a lot of times what happens is when people sign up for stuff, they get a promo. And now your promo ain't promoting anymore. Now your promo ain't promoting you either.
Right.
Now you're paying like 3 times what you signed up for. But we don't know that, number one. We're not negotiating, number two, and we're not looking for alternatives, number three. If we can do that, and honestly, look at how much you would save on your phone, look at how much you'd save on your internet, look at how much you save on your cable, and whatever that delta is, it may end up being like $500 a month. Take that and roll that into whatever Boglehead tells you to do every month, and take advantage of compounding interest, because what that does is that money will grow for you without you needing to work harder. You're just choosing differently. So again, make sure you're investing retirement, cut out things that don't serve you. That's number two. And then number three thing is, because this is a time when we're thinking about next year. Number three thing is, if you have like a flexible spending account at your work, which is like account that you can spend the money on stuff for your health, for your
That's
wellness.
the FSA or your HSA.
Exactly. If you have the FSA, definitely HSA, their deadline can be very variable. Some may be December 31st, some may be next year. But if you have access to HSA, it can be a really, really strong investment vehicle for you. And actually, depending on where you are in your seasons of life, I like to use it like an investment account more than a spending account. And that's the HSA, which is different from the FSA. The HSA is usually you can actually invest in there, and that money can grow over time. And if you use that money for healthcare related stuff, you don't pay taxes on the growth, which is one of the few avenues that you have to actually not pay a lot of taxes. So what I recommend is, if people have HSA, I've never had access to it. I'm jealous of everybody that does, because I like so like it. I like it a lot. So just put the money in there and make sure that it's invested. It's not sitting down like a rock in a savings account, but instead you're choosing something that lets you be able to invest it. And if you keep that in there, that's another money that you could be saving towards your health care for retirement, because now it's growing for you. And when you take it out, you don't have to pay taxes on it. So that's number three. The other one that I'm going to say is something that, it's wisdom that I know that not all of your audience know the Bible or read the Bible, but I love the wisdom from the Bible. One of the things that the Bible talks about is faith comes by hearing, and hearing the word of God. There's something about what we hear that transforms us so powerfully. And so what ends up happening is, if you look at two people, if you look at Latifat, Dr. Latifat, like just me, same circumstances and everything, what I listen to is going to impact what I create. What I listen to is going to impact what I become. So a lot of times we listen to self-doubt. We listen to people that are brokety broke, that haven't done what you want to do, but people will talk you out of it. We listen to people that you would not want to swap a day in their life with them. And what ends up happening is, what you listen to transforms you. What you listen to creates you. If you tell me what you listen to today, I can literally predict to a human extent what your life could be like or look like in 5 to 10 years. So if we can change what we're hearing, if we can change what we're listening to, and that includes what you're listening to, like, podcasts you're listening to. Are you listening to a podcast or listening to shows? Are you listening to things that is going to help you transform your mind? Or are you listening to things that's going to tell you that you're worth nothing and that maybe, whatever? Are you listening to thoughts from yourself, right? That empowers you and reminds you of who you're born to be? Or are you listening to the voice from yourself that reminds you of your failures and the mistakes that you made? And it's not good enough to just think it. Like, it's important to speak it. Like, remind yourself that you're beautifully and wonderfully made, that, like, literally, I believe that God looked at this entire world and it's like, there's something missing in 2023. Dr. Renee, all right, birth her. Yeah, y'all talk together, do what people do to birth babies, right? So I believe that we're all like valuable in this world, not just for us, but also for other people as well. So just changing, like, what books are you listening to? I'm a huge fan of Audible books,
Me
like
too.
listen to books on Audible. And you don't even have to pay. Like, go find Libby Library online.
Libby,
If you have
yes.
a local library, like, literally, like,
You have to go to
30%.
get an actual library card to use Libby, which
Yeah,
look, blows me away. This is how many people do not have library cards, but you have to get an actual physical library card to use Libby. But Libby is an amazing app. Amazing app, and it's got
amazing.
books for free, and it's not
It's,
just books. You could end up reading the New York Times. It's a whole lot of stuff.
it's a whole lot, right? I would say 30%, maybe 25 to 30% of the books that I've read or listened to this year are from Libby. They're free through Libby. The others, maybe they don't have them yet, or I'm like,
Right.
8 weeks long wait. Now I'm
Exactly.
not
Yeah.
about that
My
like
patients
Audible.
are not, I'm working on patients. I do use Audible quite religiously, but Libby has got me, like, I read From Scratch on Libby, but From Scratch was a movie recently, which meant the book came out years ago. So I didn't have to wait to get that Audible, get that on Libby. But yeah, Libby
Let's
is phenomenal.
change what we're listening to, and there are books that are on there. There is, Think and Grow Rich is a classic, right? Because it always starts with a mindset. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is another good resource. I have a book that I wrote. It's geared towards women physicians, but I've had non-women physicians tell me how impactful it's been. It's called Done with Broke, The Woman Physician's Guide to More Money and Less Hustle. We made Amazon bestseller earlier this year. So the key is, if we can change what we're hearing, I promise you, it will change our lives. It will literally change the results that we're creating. So I think that's number 4. Number 5, I lost track of numbers. And y'all, you don't even need to like numbers to be successful. And that's a beautiful part of this. Like, literally, you don't like, the only requirement you need to know money, to do money, is be willing to know money and do money. That's it. And then the last one that I'm going to share is something that I've talked about a lot recently as I continue to think about what helped me succeed, what helped me create the results that I get to live now, and will help me create the result that I'm going to be living in 5 years from now. And it's what I'm investing in. And, I break it down into 3 things. So 3 things that I invest in, and I will always invest in every year, is I will always invest in my mindset. Okay. And when I say investing in, it's money or time or both, or attention as well. Like, you have to invest where your attention goes, that's where your growth is going to go. So I invest heavily in things that improve my mindset. And that's like prayer time. That is like podcasts that I listen to. That is books that I listen to. But it's also membership that I pay for, the communities that I pay to really marinate my brain into, right? That is an important thing that I invest in. Number 2 is tangible assets. It doesn't have to be fancy. My investments are so boring. It's ridiculous. Like, they're so boring. I invest in boring stock market, diversified index funds. I don't pick anything. I don't care what's fancy. I pick the boring route, and the boring route is made me do really well. So I do that, and I invest in real estate. We have a little bit of stuff for doing crypto, but I only invest things that I'm willing to lose in those sort of things. So it doesn't have to be fancy. Real estate, businesses, if you can invest in those 2 things, you will have a really good chance of success. And then the last thing that I invest in is giving. I believe that giving is an asset class on its own that many times will leave on the table. The law of the world, it doesn't matter what faith you're in, it says, givers will not lack, right? give. I believe in giving so much. And it's not just about money, it's giving of my time, my attention, giving of the skill set that I have. I mean, what we're doing right now, it's given. And I believe you can never outgive God, but you have to be willing to receive. And being willing to receive is being able to say, yes, I will do it. Yes, I will ask for it. Yes, I will learn the skill set. I don't have it yet, but I will learn the skill set. It's literally like God giving a door, saying, knock, knock, open it. And you're like, no, I heard you're going to do a miracle. And it's like, you got to open the door with some skills, right? That's my miracle right there. So, anyways, those are three things that I will always, always invest in. And I honestly believe, and I did not make those up. It's the result of me learning from the people that I've surrounded myself with that I believe are successful in the way that I want to be. And success leaves clues. So if we can break the cycle of paying bills and investing in assets, changing the ratio of the bills or liabilities to asset, I promise you that your life will change. It may not change right away, but if you give yourself the gift of time, 6 months, 12 months, 3 years, 5 months, it's going to only become progressive. And so those are some things that I think your audience can use, whether it's the end of the year or if they're listening to this, in 2024 and beyond.
Yeah, I know several people that they don't worry about their bills because they have, maybe it's a house or a apartment building or something, and that covers all of their household bills. And then they work their job,
Yep,
and that job
absolutely.
money is just their money because all of their bills are taken care of, including their own mortgage of where they live. So it's really important. And and I don't do crypto. I just don't understand it enough. And I mean, I could wake up tomorrow and all of a sudden understand, and then I'll do it. But and I've had so many people who are brilliant with it try to break it down for me. And I'm like, I don't get it. I don't
That's
get it.
okay.
And I don't want to just hand you my money. I need to understand. So,
Yep.
but I do trade. I do futures and options, and I understand it, which is why I can do it because I understand it, which is why I can make money from it because I understand what I'm doing.
Good.
So,
Exactly. And that's the thing, right? Finding your vehicle, learning your vehicle. There's
right,
more than one way to get to Rome, right? You cannot, and that's the thing too, like what you know, do what you know.
right.
And then when you learn differently, then you can add that on. But your assets, what you're investing in is going to correlate with what you know. So if you want that to change, when all I knew was stock market, that's all I did. And then when I learned real estate and I know real estate and we do that, it's part of why we've been able to take this time off it because our investment generates funds for us to be able to do what we want to do. And honestly, that is life, in my opinion. But yes, now our ratio looks different. And that may change. Maybe in future, we may be buying businesses and
Hmm.
our ratio will shift again. But the key is do something,
Right.
learn something, do something.
Yeah. And I mean, waiting is not a wealth strategy.
You
It's
know,
just
it only works after you've planted some. It's
right.
not.
And you have to plant the money first. You can't just
Yeah,
sit there and wait to try to figure out what to do. No, you have to do. And it
yeah,
does take money to
absolutely.
make money, but people are amazed how little it takes. It does not take a whole lot to trade options or futures. It does. And then also futures, before I had a horrible incident with the Wi-Fi, I was $100,000 a funded trader. So that was $100,000. It was not my money that I was able to trade other people's money. So
Yeah. Yes.
and then I still received 80% from the
That's
$100,000 that I was trading. I got 80% of all the stuff that I made. So it was a very good deal. So there's, people are just amazed that it just doesn't cost that much. Just like
yes.
the stocks now, you can buy fractional shares. What is a fractional share? That's piece by piece. I think I don't know how much Tesla is today, but at one point Tesla was like $600 a share. Well, you may not be able to buy one share of Tesla, but you could buy a piece of Tesla,
Yep. Yep.
a piece of Apple.
If you can share meals with your family, you can share stock with people. How about that?
Exactly. Exactly. And so I think that people often think that things are so far, far away, and they're not. And
Yes.
then the other thing with travel is that you'd be amazed how cheap it is in these other countries compared to how much it is here in the US. And so you probably be very happy to go get somewhere and then, see a bottle of water doesn't cost $5.
Absolutely, right. You can do it differently. You can do it smartly. And again, I'm always careful when it comes to debt. I don't recommend that people the same way I don't believe you have to pay debt off to invest. I also don't believe in acquiring debt just for the heck of it.
Right.
But if your audiences are people that pay off their debt, their credit card every month, there's no reason why you cannot look at points.
Mm-hmm.
Getting points with your credit card can help you fly at a discounted price potentially, changes your experience. Listen, y'all, airport lounges, they're variable qualities. But I'm telling you, if airport lounges were not a thing, we would not have gone to 18 countries this year because airports, not fun. Sitting down at the gate for like 5 hours with kids, I love my kids. They're great and all, but kids are kids, right? Not fun. But airport lounges just changing that experience. Like it's like a thing. We're like, oh, let's leave home early so we can go to the airport lounge and just like chill. Like seriously, guys. So, and that does not cost me additional to what I'm already spending in my life. But again, that is not something that I would recommend for people that carry credit card debt. But if you're someone that pays off your credit card every month, then looking into credit card points is something that can decrease your expenses. And that has been I mean, we flew business class on points. Like that's just an experience that didn't cost us additional, doesn't cost me more than my broke self would have paid 7 years ago. It actually cost me less with a different experience. And extra credit for that whatever. The pilot that looked at me when I was like, this, you going this side? I'm like, yeah, we're turning left. We're not going right this time.
Oh Lord.
We'll go right next time. But for today, we're going left. Swiping left. Right. So anyway, so the point is it's not as hard. There's creative ways, but people say you need takes money to make money. That is can be true, but it actually takes creativity to make money. It takes creativity. It takes being a person of integrity. It takes learning skills. If you're a person of integrity, if people know that you will do what you say for the most part, and if you're willing to learn skills, you don't need a lot of money to make money. You will be able to leverage those characters and those qualities that you have, and then you get to use other people's money to make money. Like when people talk about buying $500 million apartment complexes, it doesn't mean it's their money that they're using. They have the skills. They have the skills. They have the relationship that hopefully is based on integrity. They leverage that together, and now they're working, different kind of working hard, but now they're using other people's money. And a year later, they're going to have more money than they did before. So those are all just limiting beliefs, thoughts that limit us. If we can start to question them, if we can start to challenge them, I promise you we will change. And when we change, it's not just about us. It's about the people in our circle that
Exactly.
changes, right? It's about the people in our circle. It's about your kids that changes. Like our kids, like I did not get on an airplane until I was freaking 18. My 6-year-old is, I mean, I don't want to do the math of how many planes we've been on, but she's like, her life is different from mine, right? And it's not about, people talk about like spoiling kids. It's about changing their mind. It's about expanding how they think about life. It's about saying that this die or grind life doesn't have to be it. There are different ways. We're teaching them about our real estate. We already decided that when we get back, 10-year-old, you're old enough to be able to log into our Airbnb and make some changes to our Airbnb. We're going to give you the instruction manual, right? But it's changed not just for us only. Like, there are people in our circle that we've impacted in ways that we never would have thought about. I think about the people in my community, in my money school. Like I have kids of like farm workers. I have kids whose parents were like, lower income that are now they're physicians, but now their lives are different. Their generations are different because they chose to be that person, right? My 30-year-old sister bought a cash flowing rental in New Jersey, right? If I did not do what I did and learn what I learned, it would make it a whole lot harder for her to be able to do that. So again, it's about us, but it's about so much more. It's like, lives that are not even born yet that could be changed because you decided to think differently, do differently, go the exact opposite of what we've been taught to do, disappoint people in the short term, and just decide that, what, I want the future to be better, and I get to play a part in that. I get to invest and learn and do differently. And so, if you're listening, that's your call to action. You got work to do. You're not just listening to this just for the heck of it. You got work to do. There are literally people that their lives are going to be better in 10 years because you chose to learn how to do money. You chose how to change your mindset. You chose how to live differently, invest differently, and the future is going to be better for it.
Mm-hmm. And, a lot of people have those Sunday night blues. And, there's a lot of people that had to go back to work today, even. But when you go back to work, you want to go back because you want to go back and you're happy to go back. You do not want Sunday night blues. You want, like, I look forward to Mondays. And people think I'm crazy, but I look forward to Mondays. But that's because that's the life I live. I don't do anything I don't want to do. I don't believe in being miserable because life is short. I don't care how, yes, I'm 47 and thank you, Lord, I made it 47 years, but I'd like to live 100 more. Life is short. I know people that died, before they hit 40. Life is short. And so you might as well enjoy it while you're here. And like I said, live while you are alive. There's so many
Yeah.
people that retire and like the next day they die.
Yeah. I mean, my
And
dad
that's
died.
because of all that stress and not taking care of yourself while you were working that job. And then you get rid of the job. And then you're not even healthy enough to enjoy not having to go to work. So it's just, and I've heard way too many people that have died 2 minutes after they retired. So please enjoy life now today. And these are ways that you could enjoy life. Like she said, do not leave money on the table. Make certain that you invest in that. There was people when I had a job, there was people there that I was giving the maximum amount because I saw that they matched. And she was like, oh, I don't invest in that. I go, are you crazy? You do know that they match. Like, they're going to put that amount of money in your account. I was like, whatever. I gave the information to them in case they had missed it. I gave it to them. So, did you freeze? I hope you're not frozen. Oh no, we lost her. Okay, but she was amazing. Maybe she'll come back on. But really, that was all. I really just wanted to make sure you guys got these nuggets because we're going into a new year and people are going to set goals. People are going to they're going to plan out their year of what it's going to look like as far as their travel, their money, and all of these things. And I just wanted to make sure you had the information. So there, Black Doctor, we have some amazing articles, and we will link one in the post. But there is always something about financial health. Every week we have something about finances, and because here at Black Doctor, we do believe that you need to have your physical health, but you also need to have your spiritual health, your mental health, and of course your financial health. So that's why we do talk about mindset and how, and all these different things. Because see, she came back. I knew she'd come back. I thought you had froze. Yes, she's back. So, but I was just closing out. But yeah, so but yes, it was everything she said was so great. I put her website. It's right here scrolling, MoneyFitMD.com. Please visit her website, and then you see at MoneyFitMD that's on Instagram and what else?
Instagram, Facebook, and also LinkedIn.
Please, if you have questions, I'm sure she'd be more than happy to answer them. Please visit her. And perhaps, you could be one of the ladies that she works with. Do you only work with ladies? Uh-oh, did she freeze again? Oh, no. Okay, she froze again, you guys. I'm sorry. Hopefully, maybe she'll come back. But if she doesn't, it's okay. Thank you so much to Dr. Latifat for taking time to speak to us all the way from Thailand. And we'll see you next time. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I hope you've shared this. Okay, that's all. Good night.